Hey everyone, it's Dave here. Welcome back to the Old Dirty Basement Podcast. Got some exciting news to share with you all today.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. We are thrilled to introduce a brand new feature to our podcast, Fan Mail. You can now send your letters, questions, and stories, and we'll read them right here on our show.
Absolutely, Matt. This is your chance to be part of the podcast. We want to hear everything you have to say, whether it's fun facts, fan theories, or just a shout out. Send it our way. Zap, you want to tell them how they can send us fan mail?
Absolutely, Dave. All you need to do is go to our episode descriptions and click the fan mail link to send us a text. It's super easy to use. Don't worry, your phone number won't be shared. Everything we see is confidential. It's just between us. Remember, folks, this podcast is for you, and we want you to be a part of it. So don't hesitate. Send in your fan mail today. We might just read your letter in our next episode. All right, that's our exciting news for today. Can't wait to get your fan mail. And as always, I'm Zap.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave, signing off from the Old Dirty Basement Podcast. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On this week's episode, we're covering part 2 of Lou Pearlman.
Now this week we find out what happens when you make fake companies and the people start asking to cash in on them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I never knew you could make money on something that completely doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, this guy did it. So we hope you're enjoying the podcast. Speaking of which, if you are, leave that 5-star rating on Spotify. On Apple, you can leave a written review. And sit back, relax, and enjoy part 2 of Lou Pearlman.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor.
History.
And copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
Where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder.
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax.
And comprehend.
Hello? Is it Old Dirty Basement you're looking for? How's it going, guys?
What's going on?
Ooh, that was a Lionel Richie reference.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I like
Yeah,
what you did there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It just came to me.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Dave for allowing us back in the basement. She kind of kicked us out last time.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah,
maybe
she's
that was for the
ruthless.
better, because this is such a long story.
It was.
Maybe.
Yeah, now we're like refreshed, ready to jump back on into the old Pearlman stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of refreshed, so for the listeners who don't know, we record this in Dave's basement. There is no Old Dirty Basement without Dave's basement.
Right.
And Dave is always so thoughtful to prepare coffee for the three of us here. So we're talking a lot, we're doing whatever. We got to keep wetting our whistle. Now, while I thank Dave so much for his coffee, I mean, look, this coffee today is thick. I mean, it's thick.
Is it strong?
This is some serious coffee, man. Like, I'm used to the light or the medium. This is some stiff coffee.
I just did the normal.
2 scoops?
No, it's
Or what?
one scoop per cup.
Wow, this was, yeah, this is, I thought it was a 2 scooper.
No.
It might, maybe some of the water kind of evaporated out. I don't know, but it is.
It's strong.
Yeah, I can feel my plaque clearing out of my innards,
Yeah,
my
what-
guts.
Yeah.
My what is
There's
it?
a strong coating in my esophagus.
Yeah.
Of,
Mm-hmm.
Woo. All right, so back to Lou Pearlman. So I know we spent a lot of the last episode, at least a good part of it, talked about the boy bands that he had started, and that's that's with purpose. I mean, these are these boy bands that are known globally. Everybody knows these boy bands, so it makes sense to talk about them a bit, especially when it comes to Lou Pearlman, without whom those boy bands wouldn't have existed.
well, yeah, you had to give a whole background to the story. You just can't jump into it not knowing what the man has done.
That's right.
And I mean, now we're going to find out more of the story with Lou Pearlman.
And it got me to thinking, like, we didn't bring it up on the last one, but they went over to Europe first, both bands, to tour before they really kind of hit in the U.S.
Correct.
So it's almost like it's like the minor leagues for boy bands, I guess. You go over there. If you can make it there, you can make it here.
Yep. It was
And,
it was like their experiment
Right.
to do it over there.
If
But
you're big in Germany, like Hasselhoff.
that's true. That's the first thing that came to mind for me. Now, that notwithstanding, both of those groups did, in fact, not unlike Tiffany, Debbie Gibson, whatever, they did
The mall tours?
the mall tours, the restaurant tours, the SeaWorld.
SeaWorld,
They were putting it in for sure.
Who was the big one at our local mall? Was that Tiffany? Not Tiffany.
Tiffany
Yes.
came to the Harrisburg East Mall.
Yes, she was the
really?
redhead.
For damn sure.
I didn't know
For
she
damn
was
sure.
there.
So a quick recap on Lou Pearlman. Again, we are in part 2 of this story. Grew up relatively decent upbringing. Had a good buddy of his, Alan Gross.
Garfunkel was his uncle.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Uncle Funkel.
The only other kid,
Gar uncle.
the only other kid in his apartment building was this guy named Alan Gross, whose window faced an airport. Lou Pearlman just grew up, fascinated, or as he says, fascinated with the blimping business, blimps, airplanes, you name it. Went to college, came out of college, started a helicopter company, started a blimping business. In fact, his first blimp was for Jordache. That crashed and burned. He got a good settlement from that. Then he continued on into the blimping business, even bigger and better. Picked up McDonald's, picked up a couple other big clients, started a private airplane charter business. Everything's going well. He gets a partner, a guy named Julian Bencher, who got into the airship business with Lou. Julian brought a good amount of money, but they needed more money to satisfy Julian's desires for growth. So they took the company public, hard selling the stock by virtue of a brokerage outfit named Chatfield, Dean & Company. That's where we were talking about the boiler room effect, where these guys were pushing the stock so hard that not only were they, basically forcing their customers, they wouldn't say no, or they wouldn't accept no as an answer. But if customers were asking to buy some other stock, they would just take that money and buy airship anyway. Mm-hmm. From there, that's when we went on to the big boy band discussion. So after all of this, thanks to his chartered flight service, New Kids on the Block was one of Lou's customers. Lou hears that New Kids on the Block is grossing, the brand New Kids on the Block is grossing $1 billion in 1990. He wants to jump on that train. Come on, ride that train.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. He decides, I want to get into the boy band business. So he starts up the Backstreet Boys, starts up NSYNC, and everything's just going swimmingly. Everything is going wonderfully until 1998, when Brian Luttrell of the Backstreet Boys filed a lawsuit complaining that they weren't making enough money. Like, where's the money, Lebowski? What happened here? We made well over $10 million, and you kept $10 million of that. The other 5 of us only got $300,000, and every other Backstreet Boy joined into that lawsuit except Nick Carter.
And is that where we continue our story? 1998.
In fact, I think we should.
I think we should.
It's a good year.
Oh, great year.
Not like a blimp.
No, not. Oh, I like that. Like that. Well done. All right. Well, it's 1998. Julian Bencher, that trust fund baby investor who'd gone into business with Lou in Airship International, was looking to liquidate his holdings in Transcontinental Airlines. Now, just a reminder, Transcontinental Airlines was the business that Lou said that he had started with. This is when Lou went over to Germany. That's right.
Yeah.
Theodore Woolenkemper.
Mm-hmm.
So he learned all there was to know about the blimping business from Theodore Woolenkemper, and then he and Theodore went into business together. By now, Lou is selling all of these other people, like Transcontinental Airlines, or Transcon, let's just call it. Mm-hmm. It's funny that it's trans and con. That con's in the word. That he folded all of these businesses by now. Again, this was in part 1. He folded all of his businesses underneath the umbrella of Transcontinental Airlines. So that's just like the holding company. But he's, again, has continued to push people to buy into these companies, buy in. I mean, look, boy band success. I'm going to take this public too. Like, it's going to be great, huge, tremendous.
Wasn't that his own band, Lou Pearlman and the holding company?
Could be.
It could have been.
Nice, Matt.
I'm surprised that with that name, Transcontinental Airlines, like Continental is already I would assume at that time, an established airline.
Continental Airlines.
That you would be allowed to use that name.
He had to throw the trans in it, though.
But I'm saying you could say like Trans-American Airlines.
Is it an airline or is it not?
I would just think is it or is it not? Yeah. I would just think it would be kind of like for America, let's say for Continental Airlines, like, hey, this is confusing. Like, people might think that's us, and
That's a very good observation you have there, Dave. So what you're saying is, if I hear the term Transcontinental Airlines, that in my mind might sound a lot like just regular Continental Airlines or Trans World Airlines, TWA.
TWA.
Right.
It must be a good investment. Sure thing, Lou. I'll buy in. Sounds good.
So
Aren't they
use it
both
as
defunct
names.
right now? Is there TWA anymore?
No.
No,
Or
I don't know.
Continental's no more either.
Oh, with that Transcontinental Airlines, let's not forget that when you buy Transcontinental Airlines stock, you were getting a guaranteed dividend of 10%. Or I'm sorry, that was Airship International. Transcon wasn't public yet, but you could also buy into the Transcontinental Airlines' employee investment savings account, that EISA program.
Yeah.
That was paying out at 8%. And, it was, according to Lou here, it was guaranteed by FDIC. It was insured by AIG and Lloyd's of London. So, look, you got nothing to lose here. You got nothing but upside.
It was down with OPP.
He was.
It was all that. But I'm surprised, like I said, I guess that makes sense. If you can get a name that seems familiar to people, and
Sure.
that makes sense. But I'm surprised, like those other companies, which maybe they're not even paying attention, that it's the same industry.
Sure.
That you wouldn't say, hey, wait a minute, you're causing confusion. It'd be like if, McDonald's and McDowell's or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Think of Slurpee.
Big Mac, we got the Big Mac.
How about
Yeah.
Slurpee and Slushy?
Yes.
Right.
Pretty
Very
damn close.
similar,
There
yeah.
you go. Just a
Yeah.
little subtle change, but it's enough.
It's enough. Mm-hmm.
It's enough to avoid any kind of copyright infringement.
Right.
Well, all right. So Julian Bencher is looking to he going into that business with Lou in Airship International. He wants to liquidate his holdings in Transcontinental Airlines. Pearlman ended up dodging him for months before finally relenting and telling him that it was that Theodore Wollenkemper, Lou's partner, who taught him all there is to know about the Blimpen business and majority shareholder of Transcontinental Airlines. He was the one who was holding up the sale. Okay. Bencher took matter into his own hands and went to visit Wollenkemper. Upon confronting him, Bencher received a hearty laugh from Wollenkemper and an assurance that not only did Wollenkemper not own any sort of Transcontinental Airlines, he'd never even heard of it. Moreover, according to Wollenkemper, the only sort of business Pearl did with Wollenkemper anymore was merely to borrow his planes if Pearlman's weren't in the shop.
Okay.
At the peak of its success, Transcontinental Airlines reported owning 60 aircraft, including 14 727s, and had annual net income in excess of $100 million. In reality, Transcontinental Airlines didn't exist. It never existed.
Wait, what?
It was all a lie, a complete and total fabrication that existed only on paper.
So the 60 aircraft, the
It was all fake.
727s, they're just sitting there in somebody's imagination.
Correct. They all it was made up. It was on paper.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, livid, Bencher immediately returned to confront Lou. Now, in exchange for an undisclosed sum, Bencher kept his silence. Again, this is 1998.
So how much do you think that silent sum was?
I don't know, but it was enough. Look, Lou is scared. Basically, this guy Bencher came up and said, look, I want to liquidate my holdings in this Transcontinental Airlines. I want to take that money. I want to go do something else. Lou's like, he's not getting a hold of the guy. He's not getting back to him. And then he tells him that his partner, this Wollenkemper, is holding up the work. Well, it's Wollenkemper's fault. So Bencher just goes to Wollenkemper and says, what's your problem?
He has no idea.
What airline?
Yeah,
what are you talking
airline?
about?
Yeah.
So this whole thing, again, from part one, he had gotten so many people to invest in this company, throwing money at not just the company, this EISA program, all of this stuff didn't exist.
But when you look at these guys, we go through a lot of this in the things we discuss. When you're having scams this way, when you throw in like interesting conversation, when you promise things, people are willing to give you money if something sounds good.
Man, wait.
And usually it's too good.
Just you wait.
Now, wouldn't this guy be liable, though, if he knew something was going on? Like,
No.
if you're not at all.
Liable
Like,
for what? It's not a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
It's
Private. Yeah.
sure, I know this, but I'm not obligated to do anything. It's,
Right. But
yeah.
it's illegal activity or no? I don't know.
It's not, so at the same time, you would think it might be something like, I don't know, accessory. No, he's not pushing the stock. He's not pushing the product. He's not doing anything. He's this Bencher guy is, Bencher, Julian Bencher. He's too busy in the Blimpen business.
Right.
Hell, he wanted to liquidate his holdings in Transcon
To buy more blimps.
To buy more blimps or do something like that.
Mm.
Well, Lou's success in the boy band business made him into a magnate in the music world. He went on to manage other boy bands such as O-Town, which was, fun fact, a result of the ABC and MTV reality television series Making the Band, as well as LFO, Natural, Take 5, and Marshall Dillon. That's, while it sounds like somebody's name, that's actually a group.
Do you guys remember LFO?
Yeah.
And they had the New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of hits.
Yeah.
Chinese food makes me sick.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
You got one on me there, man. I definitely don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I remember the Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah, that's Abercrombie
It was like
and Fitch.
all over MTV that one year.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be?
Exactly.
Well, Lou also went on to manage the girl groups Solid Harmony and Innocence.
Don't know that.
No, I don't
Right.
know that.
They didn't make
Oh,
it.
fun fact though, I think Britney Spears was in Innocence in the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
She left and went
She
on to do
left.
her own solo thing.
Right.
And now she's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fun fact. Oops, I Did It Again.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were.
That's a
saying
Max Martin song.
Oh, he wrote that one.
Shit, yeah.
Oh shit.
Dude, most of her hits.
Ja wrote that too. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Max Martin, as everybody remembers,
Max
is the
Martin.
wow. I mean, just the pinnacle of pop writing success.
Yeah, I think he's in Ghost.
Might
He's
be.
from Sweden.
Mm,
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, he's one of the ghouls.
He's the ghouls.
That's
yeah.
Ghost the band, not Ghost the movie.
No.
Let's see. Oh, in addition to those two girl groups, he also Lou had also managed individuals such as Aaron Carter, who was Nick Carter's little brother, Jordan Knight, and a dude named C Note.
Oh, yeah. He's
$100 bill, y'all.
No, C Note. Didn't he do that song?
I never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
C Note Green.
That's
CeeLo.
Oh,
CeeLo
CeeLo.
Green.
Oh, okay.
C-Note Green.
Yeah.
Wait, what did he sing?
Just like Britney Spears. That girl is crazy.
Yes, crazy.
And fuck you.
Yeah.
That's a good track.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my particular favorites of CeeLo is Bright Lights, Big City. Give that one a listen. That's
look
that's
that
definitely
one
worth
up.
a listen.
I seen him on when Daryl Hall had his
Correct.
Daryl's house.
He
Oh,
did
that's a
some,
good show,
He did a
yeah.
really good
some
episode there.
Great Hall & Oates renditions. He really, really did. Anyways,
Oh, here's Max Martin. Ja.
yeah.
It's like Tame Impala a little bit.
They're probably ripping this guy off. He probably drives like a little Chevy.
Why wouldn't
He
he?
has like a nice little apartment.
Nah.
I got a feeling this guy learned this guy didn't even need to learn his lesson. He was just quite simply every time something was sold, I'm getting a nickel or a dime or every time. Either way, everything was coming up Pearlman. Until allegations of sexual impropriety began to arise.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All of the boys in all of Pearlman's boy bands spent a great deal of time at Pearlman's house at one point or another. All of those boys, in fact, referred to him as Big Papa.
They love it when they call him Big Papa.
Yeah, I was
Indeed.
thinking it.
One of the members of Take 5 remembers sleeping over at his house with a few other boys and awoke to find Pearlman at the foot of their bed, wearing only a towel. Pearlman then did a swan dive into the bed, began to wrestle with the boys, and the towel came off.
Oh, no.
Another instance included some of the boys arriving at Pearlman's house to go swimming, where Pearlman answered the door wearing nothing at all, claiming he'd just gotten out of the shower.
Yeah, right.
Still another instance included a private screening of Star Wars at Pearlman's mansion, but the movie was cut short and replaced with a porno movie.
That's awesome.
There's a reason why
How did that get there?
Yeah, how'd
Yeah,
that
right.
happen? There's a reason why Nick Carter didn't participate in the Backstreet Boys lawsuit against Lou. Consensus is that Lou has naughty pictures of Nick, and Nick couldn't risk the possibility of Lou releasing them. None of the boys would or ever will admit anything deliberate ever happened to any of them. They're all too ashamed. Their lives would be ruined. But these were just allegations. No suits were ever filed.
Yeah. That's the thing with all this sexual harassment stuff or sexual, what am I trying to say?
Any kind of impropriety like that. You don't want to
Yeah.
bring that up and say, yeah, man, I was playing touchy-feely with an old man.
Mhm.
Right, right. But also it was all like alleged and none of these guys will admit, they're like, oh, nothing ever happened. You know, nothing ever went wrong.
Or
I
they'll
never
say
noticed anything. You know
Yeah,
what I
he was a
mean?
little weird sometimes, but nothing. Yeah,
But-
I don't know what they're trying to get at with that. He just liked to shower
But
stuff.
the other thing is that a couple of the band members that did come out, I guess the one guy was on Stern from LFO.
Okay.
And he was telling stories about Lou and like improper stuff that was going on. But a lot of these other guys that are in like the bands like NSYNC and those bands say, oh, those guys are just bitter because they didn't have as
like
much
the more
success.
successful
They
bands
didn't make it as big as we did.
Right. So the successful bands were like, even later on, as we'll find out with Lou, when things went down, they still didn't talk bad about him.
Right.
You know, which makes you wonder. But
well, a lot of these men in this industry also, I think that they know how impressionable, like they prey upon these boys, and they know how easy it is to get their parents to just let somebody that's in charge of this band to let them stay over your
like
house.
Like a father figure.
Yeah, let them. And that's the same thing with the Nickelodeon story that's out right now on Netflix.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys, like he had all kind of like toy stuff, you know what I mean? Like video games, and like the house is just like Michael Jackson did.
I was just going to say like Neverland.
Kind of reminds me of your basement somewhere.
I know,
like
I got arcade games
and
over there.
then,
I know.
Wait, what's going on here?
Candy did. I always got Yoo-hoo and apple juice in my fridge.
Right next to the Miller Lite.
Yeah, right.
All right. The boy band craze began to phase out in the early 2000s. Pearlman, forever seeking additional streams of revenue to hit big, tried his hand in the filmmaking game. Now, at a cost of a little over $20 million, he made a movie named Long Shot, which was released in 2002. Despite the cast, including the likes of Paul Sorvino, Gilbert Gottfried, Pearlman's cousin Art Garfunkel, all members of NSYNC, Britney Spears, Kenny Rogers, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and nearly every artist signed to his record label, the movie made approximately $2 million and currently holds a score of 2.6 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I've never heard of this movie.
No, me neither.
Neither did a lot of people. He spent 20 and he only made 2.
That's just an odd pairing of people too.
He wanted to have this star-studded cast to make this movie,
It's
and
like,
it's like Cannonball Run.
Or We Are the World or something.
Almost, but We Are the World made money.
Yeah.
Well, they're all doing favors for him too with this movie. He probably didn't pay him shit.
Yeah, true.
Well, after the Backstreet Boys lawsuit settled, all of Pearlman's other acts either followed suit or fizzled out. In 2002, Pearlman got into the talent scouting business by purchasing an outfit called Options Talent Group. Though moderately successful for Pearlman, the business itself was a mess. Over the course of its life and a handful of name changes, nearly 2,000 complaints had been filed by angered would-be actors, alleging they'd received little to no service for the exorbitant fees they had paid. In 2003, the business, by then known as Fashion Rock, filed bankruptcy.
Was that the one where he'd go up to people, be like, hey, you know, you can be a star,
I'll
like
make
we'll
you
take your
famous.
headshots and we'll do this and that, but you got to pay for them, spend money to make money or whatever. You got to get all this shit done, but it's going to lead to you being famous and all that.
I'm a big fan and will ever always agree with you've got to spend money to make money. That's
Right.
just the way it works. And by spending money, it's either your effort or it's your money, but
Right.
one way or another, you can make it.
Right.
This is just them taking these people money, saying, "Oh yeah, well we've got an agent working on that. We've got an agent working on that." But make sure you pay your monthly retainer fee. Make sure you to retain this talent agency, because we're working hard for you. And the complaints over the course of time was just simply, look, I'm giving these guys money, I'm getting no phone calls, I'm getting nothing. I'm not even getting denials.
Right.
I'm just getting nothing. At least tell me no, as opposed to just leaving me guessing.
They still run that racket today at the farm show. They have like that Barbizon.
Yes,
Do you guys ever see that?
the
Like,
modeling and all
yeah,
that.
and they say, okay, we'll take headshots. Like, oh, your daughter has it, or your son has that look. Like, we're looking for people like that.
Is that still a thing?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And just at the farm show last year, the talent scouts really are looking for that kind of look, and they'll say, okay, well, you need so and so, and they need to get some sort of shot. Like, we make videos now, like this whole thing of like making a video
That's
of them
bananas.
dancing or like singing for like 4 minutes. Like, we have a whole list, but then you pay $75 for the video, then $100 for headshots, and it's still a thing.
We should
today.
Yeah.
We should.
I'm
Should
serious.
do
We
that.
should go. I'll buy. Let's go do that. I think that would be hilarious.
Modeling thing.
Do you remember at the mall they used to have you can make your own business cards?
At the mall?
Oh
you could do
shit!
that?
I remember that. I did that in high school. I was
Yeah, we
walking
did that in
around.
high school. Like, I had like
Was it like a vending
like
machine?
I had
or
my
something?
name. I had like head pimp.
Yeah,
Where would you make? Was it a
It was
machine?
like a machine.
yeah.
Oh,
It was a
shit.
business card machine. You get
Yes.
like 10 business
10
cards.
business cards for like what, $3.50 or $5 or
$5.
something. Yeah,
It was
$5.
wonderful.
That's
It
not bad.
It was a mobile printer. It was awesome.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you had some Zap. The Colonel had some.
They were great. They're
Yeah.
absolutely great.
I have no recollection of that.
I can neither confirm nor deny that ever
It
happened.
was a whole machine of business cards.
Well, now in 2003, Pearlman had yet to find sources of income as lucrative as Airship International or his two greatest boy bands, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Try, though he did, at revisiting his recipe for creating the next biggest boy band, none of them worked out. Investors in Transcontinental Airlines and Transcontinental Airlines' EISA plan continued to expect the dividends to which they'd become accustomed. Again, that's that 10% and 8% for this this privately held company plus this EISA program that Bencher had discovered doesn't exist, but kept his silence. Running out of liquidity, Lou turned to the banks for loans. He collateralized nearly everything he owned, which at this point, among other things, included his mansion in Florida, a few condominiums, and 3 airplanes. He even collateralized the ongoing royalties he was receiving from the height of his boy band days. Most importantly, he collateralized his stake in Transcontinental Airlines. Again, gentle reminder, Transcontinental Airlines didn't exist. We learned this 5 years ago, back in 1998, when Bencher confronted Pearlman about it and was inevitably paid off to keep his mouth shut. Transcontinental Airlines was a complete and total fabrication. It only existed on paper. So, if Transcontinental Airlines didn't exist, does that mean that any sort of Transcontinental Airlines EISA plan didn't exist either? But the banks still provided liquidity using Transcontinental Airlines as collateral.
So there was backing for a non-existent company.
Correct.
It's probably easy if you can fudge documents or do whatever.
To get loans of this nature, you need what's called corroboration or third-party assurance, right? So you have an audit done by a third party, you have somebody looking at the books, third party. It's basically saying, yes, we verify what this guy says is true. Everything's good to go.
Much like Barry Minkow did with the...
Exactly like Barry Minkow. In fact, this guy is carbon copy of exactly what Barry Minkow had done.
Pretty much, yeah, because then he'd go out to... It was like all insurance money, and he would do like the sprinkler systems and stuff. They would go off and ruin the building, but he would go out to like these people would show up. He'd take them out to now Minka would do this. Take them to they'd want to see a physical location. So he'd find one under construction and just go in.
And he would just stop while the construction guys are there. He'd give them all a couple of bucks and say, "Hey, look, guys, I'm going to pretend like I'm the owner. Can you walk around?"
Just walk around. Yeah.
Or hell, I represent the owner, and not even tell them anything, so they wouldn't have to be held liable. Yeah, anyway,
depending on how you carry yourself, like people just believe you, and trust you. You know what I mean? And this guy, Lou Pearlman, was much like that. He was a smooth talker and kind of had that way about him, and people would just go with what he said.
He's got a way about him.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
They wrote a song about
that.
I think.
Yes, well done.
The demise in Pearlman's house of cards began its collapse in 2004, triggered by the estate of one of his biggest believers, Dr. Joseph Chow. Remember Chatfield, Dean and Company, that boiler room outfit, who were hard-selling Airship International stock back in the early 90s?
I do.
Well, Dr. Chow was one of their earliest victims. By now, he'd come to know Lou personally, thanks in part to Lou introducing Dr. Chow to the high life and wealth and fame and hanging around with the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC as a normal course of business. Dr. Chow believed in Lou, and he believed everything Lou told him. Over the course of a decade, the extent of his belief amounted to nearly $14 million in loans for anything Lou had to offer. Well, upon his death, the Chow family sought to be made whole for the loans. Initially telling the Chows that times were tough for business, Lou offered them 10 cents on the dollar. When that failed, he offered to pay down the loans at $100,000 per calendar quarter, which would have taken 35 years to pay in full. This, too, was deemed by the Chows to be unsatisfactory.
What did it say to make whole, just not how long yet?
Yeah.
Miraculously, Pearlman soon after furnished forbearance letters for each loan Dr. Chow had made to him. According to the brief content of each document, it afforded forgiveness of the loans if Lou wasn't able to pay. And, lo and behold, each of them had been signed by Dr. Chow himself. Well, not believing any of that, the Chow estate hired an attorney. That attorney did some digging. And as it turns out, Lou had forged Dr. Chow's signature on every single one of those forbearance letters. In fact, when I was talking about that third-party corroboration, the accounting firm that had been preparing and signing Lou's tax returns and personal financial statements didn't exist. It never existed. For well over a decade, Lou had been paying a secretarial service to park a woman at a desk at the non-existent firm's address to wait for calls. And when and if calls ever came in, they were forwarded to Lou, who would act as though he was a representative of the firm. It all began to crumble from there.
That's genius.
That is genius.
That's so smart.
But that's the thing with these. You said he signed this guy.
It is like you're paying her what, $8 an hour, and you're making $8 million.
Yeah,
just a four.
I mean,
now you
I
could
can
do
see
that.
it.
You could do it with AI now. You know what I mean?
God, it scares the shit out of me with this AI stuff. Scares me just sleepless.
But these documents that makes sense then, because this one of Dr. Chow, he said he had him sign. Would have had to been notarized, right? Or like somebody would have had to been there.
Wouldn't have mattered.
Wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered. Lou would have faked the notarization.
The notary, yeah, right. This guy's just faking it, everything.
Again, I can't harken back enough on the concept of third-party corroboration, how much that matters when it comes to bank loans and bank this, that, and the other thing, and insurance, and you name it.
Yeah.
I mean, you need some kind of somebody out there, some professional service organization, be it a CPA firm, tax preparer, you name it, to put their name on the line and say, yeah,
this is legit.
This is legit. But Lou said, fuck that. I'll just make up my own and sign it like I was them. It's nuts.
Well, see, this Dr. Chow guy seems that he was into the boys.
Okay.
Also, you know what I mean? He's like hanging at these parties,
sure,
with NSYNC and Backstreet. He's probably a grown man.
Yeah.
So Lou sees this in him because he's like, oh hey, and as long as he's hanging out with them guys, he's just willing to fork out money.
And that's exactly it. He's seeing this high life and this wealth that, well, if Lou can establish himself as this high and mighty guy with these boy bands who at the time, or at least they had a time where they were massive globally.
Yes.
Whatever this guy does he's got the Midas touch. I want to invest in this guy.
Yeah, and I know like Lou definitely put on that front. He had like a Rolls Royce, powder blue, nice car, big house on the water. Like he looked the part.
Yeah, you trust people like that because you can see it.
Yep.
Right. You see the success. But my whole thing is with this is like, I mean, the guy could have still made a lot of money just doing shit legit.
Yeah.
Like that's what's amazing to me.
Yep.
Like that you just get so greedy, and I guess it's never enough.
I don't know if it's the greed per se. I think in Lou's case, he started one thing and then built something to pay that one thing, and then built the next thing to pay the second.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely get to that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what like Bezos and those guys? They don't really have money. They just take out like billion upon $1 billion loans, and they just use the loans that they take out to pay under the loans that they have, and it just goes in a circle, right?
So there's a kind of a way, and I understand what you're saying, Matt, and that's absolutely a thing. I mean, you can do that with, and I've been talking with clients of mine and people I know about the concept of buying dividend paying whole life insurance. So if you get into dividend paying whole life, not universal, not variable, or whatever the hell else kind of insurance there is, it must be dividend paying whole life. You build cash value in that. And as you build cash value in that, it's like putting cash value into a house, let's say. Later on, you can collateralize that. That is to say, borrow against the value of that policy, just like you can get a second mortgage or whatever on your house and borrow against that. So I'm a big fan of the whole life, dividend paying whole life, because once you get into that and you build this over the course of decades, it creates, Matt, that idea of getting loans and whatever. I'd like to look at it as a basis for liquidity once you retire. And by retire, I mean stop working or decide to stop working or do something else in your golden years. It creates liquidity that you can now drip as a dripping loan off of this. You can either pay yourself back or not. It doesn't matter, because by the time you die, if you time it right, you can get this money back plus the dividend that had been growing and compounding interest and all kinds of stuff that you can live quite sweetly. And when you die, well, your loans outstanding are netted against your loans outstanding are netted against whatever's in the policy, and that's what goes. The net of the two is what goes to your heirs.
It's funky dividends.
Yeah, I like that song. Three times dope.
3 times dope. All right. We are now in the later months of 2006. Investors in Transcontinental Airlines and Transcontinental's EISA program suddenly stopped receiving their monthly dividends. Now, it should be noted by now, if you haven't already guessed it, there is no such thing, first and foremost, there is no such thing as an EISA program. That is an employee investment savings account.
Sounds legit, though.
Well, there does, however, exist such a thing called an employee retirement investment savings account, or an ERISA account, which is a legitimate federally insured deferred compensation plan. Pearlman's EISA investment offerings were nothing more than him exploiting and creating confusion between the two names. Like Transcontinental Airlines itself, no such thing as an EISA existed. So, Dave, I wanted to say this because we had talked about this earlier
About the airline.
the airline when he used the concept of Transcontinental Airlines. There's one Trans World Airlines, or just Continental Airlines. When he makes a portmanteau of the two, it sounds legitimate to people.
Yeah, like they're the same.
What's that thing? Mandela.
The Mandela effect.
It's just like the Mandela effect.
There's a lot of people running for office around here too. If you have a name, like if there's like a Kennedy name, or like
It's like
some kind of name that hits. Yeah, you go in and you just
Eddie Murphy.
yes, distinguished gentleman.
Johnson, the name you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's vote for Johnson.
Yeah.
Right. There's a guy coming here to Harrisburg to down there to HMAC or whatever, and his last name's Crockett. He's a country singer. Well, he's a great grandson of, or however long back, I don't know, it's Davy Crockett.
Okay.
So that name Crockett,
Sure.
he's because of the name, he's actually pretty talented. I looked him up. I was like, I would have went and probably checked out the show, but I'll be at the beach. But because of the name Crockett, it's like, oh yeah, I know that name, Davy Crockett, and he's actually related to him. So that immediately gives you a little bit of like edge or credibility. You're like, oh, I know that name. Yeah, it
Sure.
must be decent. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
I mean, that happens all the time. So you had John Lennon, then his son Julian Lennon.
Right?
You had, well, I don't know. I guess it's different when I hear like Goldie Hawn and her daughter, what's her name? Kate Hudson.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's just a happenstance that they happen to be, like, people didn't hear, I'm sorry, it's a terrible example, because people didn't hear the name Hawn when they saw her. Drew Barrymore, her father was famous.
Yes.
Her grandfather.
It happens.
Or you have somebody like Nick Cage who changed his name from, wasn't he a Coppola?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Nicholas
that's
Coppola.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
To
That's
Cage.
right.
Mm-hmm.
You have George Clooney,
Right.
nephew of Rosemary Clooney. It's
I
a
didn't know
popular name. Sure. She not only did Bounty towel commercials, paper towel commercials, she was huge back in the day, in the 50s, even the 60s, with Bing Crosby, you name it.
Right.
White Christmas. She was a co-star of White Christmas, which happens to be Zab's favorite Christmas movie, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bing Crosby, one of his son or daughter, I forget what movie we did, but one of his relatives was in a movie, and I was thinking he never did anything else after that.
Was he in Rad?
It might have been.
It might have been.
Maybe.
Could have been.
All right. Well, let's see. No such thing as that. Yeah, that's right. No such thing as an EISA existed. So Florida's Office of Financial Regulation stepped in to examine the slew of complaints received from Transcontinental's investors. A group of banks who'd made those collateralization loans had a judge force Transcontinental into bankruptcy. By the time the attorneys and auditors arrived at Transcontinental's doors, all employees had either quit or been fired, and Pearlman had since fled the country and made his way to Germany. By mid-February 2007, Pearlman's house was raided and all of his assets were seized. A forensic investigation of his books and records revealed the full extent of Pearlman's Ponzi. Over the course of 20 years, Pearlman had bilked banks out of $156 million in loans and had swindled investors out of well over $300 million.
That's insane.
That is insane. Now, to be clear, and just as a reminder, when I say something like all the employees were fired or they had quit, that is of the holding company, Transcontinental, the holding company. We all know that the airline itself didn't exist, but the airline was just a wink subsidiary on paper of the holding company. So the holding company, again, had everything from recording studios to the Blimp business to the Chippendales business to you name it.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So that 2007, that would have been around the time then. So, buddy, guy listening to the show, a friend of the show, Snowman, Sean, he lived in Orlando, and I asked him about this Lou Pearlman. I said, hey, are you aware of this guy? He's like, oh yeah, I got a story about that.
Yep.
So around this time, one of his good friends had a car window tinting business.
Not a blimping business, but a tinting business.
Yeah. Tinting ain't easy. But he had did work for like the lead singer of Creed. He did like his Ferrari. He would get some, I think it was a
big
Ferrari.
high end clients.
Yeah, it was like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or like some car like that. So he would get some fancy cars in there. But a lot of these cars, he would go to the actual house and do it at the house. Like he could do it on. So Lou Pearlman's like a errand boy, like go get this done, get that done.
Sure.
He
Call it a personal assistant.
Personal assistant. There you go. Personal assistant.
Pool boy is also acceptable.
Pool boy. He had him, he said, hey, I want to get this Rolls Royce tinted up and, you know, check around. So they contacted Sean's buddy's company and he went out to the house and sure enough, Rolls Royce there. Somehow he ended up in the house or at least in the foyer. He said there was like nearly a full size. It was either an X-Wing fighter or a Millennium Falcon, like hanging in the foyer.
Fucking Falky.
Yeah, and he remembers like he was like, man, this guy, like he had all kinds of like cool Star Wars shit, which they referenced earlier, like he had Star Wars the movie playing in there. Well, I guess
toys for the boys.
Yeah, right.
I got to believe it's an X-Wing fighter because a
was an
Millennium
X-Wing.
Falcon
Would have been too huge.
Too large.
It's a city block.
But I guess not shortly after that is when all this stuff went down, and he actually called back. He called this guy back, the manager or whatever, and said, hey, our personal assistant said, hey,
The pool boy.
if you're going to auction off that stuff, like I want first dibs on that X-Wing fighter. He said, because like it was like a cool ass thing, and figuring if they're liquidating everything to pay everything back, you could probably get it like pennies on the dollar.
Shit,
you know what I mean? But I just thought that was like a cool story that that he actually had dealings with this guy.
So where's this guy going to put the X-Wing? I'm sure his house isn't that large too.
You know, people just
You find a way.
Yeah, something like that if you're into
yard.
it.
Again, that's a great example, Matt. People buy these campers that they sit all year and they park them at their house.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of parking them in a lot someplace, nope, let's just shit up the neighborhood and park them right in the driveway.
I saw one. This guy bought a VHS vending machine. They had those.
That's awesome.
You would back in the 80s, you could go rent, and it was a huge ass.
Like a red box.
Yeah, but it was massive, and it had VHS tapes in it. This guy bought it for like $8,000 and had it delivered. He was like in his garage. It's just something he wanted, nostalgic, I guess.
Dude, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Hell, man, I was just over here last weekend, and I saw Ecto One parked down the street.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. My neighbor.
So, I mean, that's something special.
He has like an Ecto One. He's into Trans Ams. Like,
Yeah, he's got
he
some
got
cool
some
shit up
toys.
there, yeah.
All right. So, by now, Pearlman was nowhere to be found. Despite reported sightings in Germany, Israel, Belarus, Russia, Spain, Panama, and Brazil, he maintained the ability to dodge the authorities. It took a random German tourist at a Westin resort in Bali to make the connection that the picture of a guy in an article he'd read while in Germany looked exactly like the guy staying at his hotel. On June 14th, 2007, the tourist secretly snapped a photo of Pearlman and sent it to a newspaper reporter residing in St. Petersburg, Florida. The photo almost immediately made its way to the FBI, who immediately coordinated with the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. Pearlman was arrested at the hotel the next day.
So 2007 was like probably a little flip phone picture, you think? Or I wonder if he actually took a picture in like Polaroid, you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
I was thinking about, like you think about now, like if I took a picture.
Yeah, I can just on the slide
and you
pick
can
up, yeah.
text it. Back then, I mean, 2007 doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was maybe a little bit more work.
And I think they had the same technology pretty much.
Yeah, I
right?
was trying to think. You could, those flip phones, you could send pictures and stuff.
Absolutely, you could.
It would look like shit.
But still, that was enough to get it there directly in time, fast.
Right.
I'm thinking of the closest example I think I can come to is National Treasure with, of all people, Nicolas Cage, we were just talking about. So a part of that movie is where he snaps a picture of this wooden block, this wooden log that has these old American Indian
writings.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say things like hieroglyphics, but that's the wrong word. But anyway, has their writings on it, and he sends it off to his mom to do some kind of deciphering, whatever. So whenever that movie came out, and I think it was in the O's, they clearly had the technology then. So I would not be surprised if he somehow used his phone for it.
Like send it over that way or email or something, yeah.
But for damn sure, it was a flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, did they have the iPhone back then?
I think iPhone came out in 2008.
There you go.
So that's what I was thinking. It may be a BlackBerry.
Could be a BlackBerry.
Yeah,
sure.
That's true. I guess they
the
were
technology was there though in 07 to make it easy.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Blimping ain't easy.
Blimping ain't easy, man.
What a snitch.
Dude, I know, right? Could you imagine being Pearlman? Like getting walked out in handcuffs, like looking back at the dude with the picture, like, Jesus, thanks, asshole.
Yeah, who was this guy?
Yeah.
Well, in less than a year after his arrest, Pearlman was ultimately sentenced to 25 years in prison, having been charged with money laundering, conspiracy, and falsifying a bankruptcy proceeding. Now, 25 years equals 300 months. In other words, his sentence was calculated to be 1 month of prison for every $1 million he'd bilked from investors and personal loans. Now, it should be noted that the judge had given him a chance to reduce his sentence by 1 month for every $1 million he'd be able to repay. So if he comes up with $300 million, he can get out of jail.
Yeah, if you could like fight Jake Paul or something.
There you go. He could start selling. That's right. He'll figure it out. Well, Pearlman began serving his sentence in 2008 with a projected release date in 2033. 4 years would later be removed from the sentence for good behavior. In 2016, Pearlman had open heart surgery to replace a bad heart valve. A few weeks later, on August 19th, 2016, at the age of 62, Lou died from cardiac arrest.
There was something, too, that I think his mother died or something. He never wanted to go under the knife for anything.
Yeah.
And he resisted it like most of his life, like going into surgery or anything. Because of that, he was scared of it. And then, sure enough, that's how he ended up dying from surgery.
Yeah.
He had like a fear of it. You know
I don't think anybody's excited about it.
No, but like
That was one, he would never,
If you lose a parent like that, you probably think like, oh, well, that's what happens. Like you feel like maybe that's going to happen to you, or it was one of those deals where he just did not want to do it. Nobody wants to go into surgery, you know what I mean?
No.
Without a doubt.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Shit, I don't want to get my wisdom teeth out. I didn't go because you got to get put under for that. I didn't get that done when I was 18. It wasn't until I was like 28 that I got it done.
I want to say I got my wisdom teeth out maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Because I had never been put under, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Well, then my wisdom teeth, I went going to the dentist, and he was like, yeah, they're getting impacted. They have to come out. So I had them taken out at 28. Funny story, though, was I had my wisdom teeth out, and I ended up with paresthesia. Did you ever hear that?
No.
It's like a numbing in any part of your face. I guess you can have it anywhere, paresthesia, but it was like the middle of my chin underneath was like numb, and I couldn't, and it was because the roots grow so long.
Sure.
They go around all the nerves. When they rip them out, it causes damage if you wait too long.
There you go.
It's a crazy story.
Well, the other part was I'm in there, and he's like, it's kind of rare. It doesn't usually happen. He said, I had another guy in here about your age. Same thing. Here was my brother-in-law.
Huh.
He had it done a year earlier. We're about the same age. He's maybe 2 years older than me. Same thing happened to him.
Cash me outside. How about that?
Right. But
that's amazing.
No surgery's fun.
No, it's not. It's not something one looks forward to.
No.
Well,
unless you're into like constructive surgery. Yeah, those people are always in the hospital.
There's that.
They love it.
I've seen so many shiny lips and weird foreheads and where lines used to be. Whatever.
Yeah. Which is weird too. And where we live in, you wouldn't think of it as a super rich part of Pennsylvania, but you still see these people like with all these surgeries. You're like, what do they do?
It's the image. People are surrounded anymore by social media, and they are surrounded by the beautiful people and what these people might look like, and they want to look like that.
No, there was a lady at Sam's Club the other day. I was there with my kid. We were walking. I don't know where we had to go in there and get like some chicken or something, but you could tell like she just was freshly out of some sort of surgery.
Like the Joker or something.
Yeah, like she just Clint's like, why she smile weird like that? And I was like, I just think she's...
Why so serious?
Yeah, I just think she's looking like that. That's her look.
Oh, I wanted to bring up, so back in 2007, as part of the bankruptcy proceedings, all of Pearlman's assets had been seized in hopes of liquidating them and paying off the investors and debtors. Now, in addition to his cars, planes, condominiums, and his mansion, were priceless works of art. Well, as it turns out, nearly all of those works of art were fakes, as were his company's profits, as were the companies themselves, as were the stories he told of looking out at the airport from his bedroom as a boy when it was actually Alan Gross's bedroom, as was his whole life. It was just fake. It was all made up.
That is crazy. So
but he lived a life, though. Like he still lived very well.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
He lived a fantastic life.
He did. He
Yeah,
did.
I mean, it was just one of those things where he was just always one step ahead of it until the end.
I mean, Sand's jumping into like a bed full of boys with like a towel on, some weird stuff going on there. But
Yeah.
Well, that minus that part. But maybe that was part of his good life.
yeah, that was his good life. He was living his best.
Yeah, definitely a lot. That's a lot of money to move through your 300 million. I mean, that's just insane.
Fun fact on this story, we kept talking about Max Martin, the Swedish songwriter.
470 plus songs written, 400 some songs produced.
Yes. In 2019, that was the earliest or the latest I could find. He was worth $260 million.
Not bad.
So you figure how big Taylor Swift gotten lately. Some of the songs he might have wrote like since 2019.
Fun fact: if you look up the 1989 album, he wrote or co-wrote every song.
That's crazy. God. And he's probably getting residual on every stream,
and I thought that was Taylor Swift writing those.
That's mailbox money. That anytime that song is played, printed, sold, he gets X.
That's like passive income. You're just
100%
done and just
mailbox money.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wonderful. It's the best kind of money. The best money is found money.
Found money. But back to what I was saying earlier, like for this guy, you could have had a nice life, like doing shit legit. Like, he was obviously a good businessman in some respects. It always amazes me with these.
Not easy being
artists.
greedy, man.
He knew how to get it. He also knew how to spend it. And he knew his spending that was his addiction, I think. That's what really brought him down. He saw this lifestyle. He wanted this lifestyle and he carried on with it. And he spent it like it was his own. And in reality, it was not.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I remember years ago, I got a friend, Matt knows the guy. Nice guy. I like this guy a lot. And I remember seeing him and he was like, hey, I was like, how's everything going? He's like, good, man. Yeah, I'm getting ready to quit my job. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And this is like, we're in our late 20s at the time. He's like, yeah, I got my own business going on. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's
talking
like,
about the basement fiasco?
What's that?
Oh, another guy we knew. Remember he helped me with my basement?
Oh, no, not that guy.
Dude never showed up.
No, that was a whole nother story. This guy, and I'm intrigued now. And I'm like, well, what business? What are you doing? He's like, well, I could tell you more about it if you're, maybe you. I'm like, well, yeah. What's up? But I know this guy. He's a good guy, and it was one of those like, kind of like a pyramid scheme type thing. I didn't really know much about it at the time, so I was intrigued. Like, yeah, I want to know more. So we went to this. It was at like a hotel.
Oh God.
He was like, yeah, you got to come out and check out this. There's some guys speaking there about
like
the business.
Timeshare.
No, it wasn't a timeshare. It was like a multi-level marketing or whatever. So I go to this thing and Michelle went along and we go to it and this guy's up there giving a speech dressed to the nines and he's like looking the part and he's like, you could make X amount of money. You can retire early. You can do this, you do that. You'll be your own business owner. And I'm like, shit, yeah, I can do this. It seems pretty easy. No problem. After the thing, he's like, hey, if you guys, anybody wants to come back to my house, we're going to, have some drinks, talk more business stuff and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because it's not far from our house. He gave me the address and I'm thinking, well, that's not very, very like nice area for a house. Like the guy looked the part like I'm expecting a mansion, the way he's talking about the income. We go to this dude's house. Like it's like a shitty house. He has like a little 13-inch TV. Like it's like I'm like,
look at this lifestyle.
No, not to say like, he could say, oh, well, I'm putting my money back into the business. I don't care about material things, but what you just put on in front of all us made it sound like you're living the most. I'm expecting a house with a pool and just like top of the line everything.
Yeah, if you're going to sell me on it, you should have rented a house just for
right.
this.
Right, dude. Like Pearlman would have done it the right way.
Pearlman played the part, like you said. He showed everyone. People showed up, like, dang, this guy is money.
Yep.
But in my, at that point, I was like, yeah, this is bullshit. Yep. But it had me up till that point. I was kind of thinking, but then after,
if you don't mind saying, like, what area?
What was the product or service?
Was it like Lingelstown? Was it in Colonial Park?
It was in Harrisburg here.
Okay.
But I mean, it was a nice house, but it was a nice house for somebody that works a regular 9 to 5, not somebody that just was up on a stage talking about fancy
making
cars,
millions.
vacations. I'm here, I'm there.
What did he drive?
I don't even know what kind of car, but the house said enough. But yeah, I can see where, if you can fake it, like if that guy, and this guy that I'm talking about, the friend of mine, eventually, went through and ended up getting out of it. But I even said to him, like, I don't know, this seems a little fishy.
Sure.
I had another friend down the road, approach me about it. I said, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, this is kind of like.
Don't go to that guy's house.
Right. But at any rate, what I was saying is I can see where you can basically fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. Now, what you mentioned, Dave, one part of it, and you were almost there. I wholeheartedly believe in and it's the concept of the millionaire next door, where you don't know these people. Like, they could be just saving it and saving it and saving it. They don't live the extravagant lifestyle. They just get by. They do whatever. Hell, I mean, there's stories I can go on and on and on with about people I know who, or know of, who just lived in apartments together and just did whatever and socked that money away. Then they bought something small. Then they turned that something small into something bigger, then bigger, then bigger. I'm saying relative to business, not necessarily, their houses themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's that millionaire next door. You don't know, like the guy that's driving a Toyota Corolla, like he could be a billionaire.
Right.
What's his name? Warren Buffett. I mean, that guy stops for a cheeseburger every day and drives some piece of shit car.
No, I think he has it's like a 90-some Mercedes.
There you go.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like a 91 Mercedes that he drives.
Nothing ridiculous. It's nothing out of control. It's just that car.
I think the smart thing too, and I think about this all the time, if I came into like a lot of money, you almost want flashy cars, and you become a target then. A friend of mine has a really nice Porsche. Now he's since got rid of it, but he drove that down the one day. They went down to like the mall down in Potomac Mills, I think it was, or somewhere. And he was telling, I never think about this. He's like, yeah, we want to go on a nice day trip. He's driving this Porsche, and then he's like, where do I park? Because now everybody's looking at the car. And you got to worry the whole time, like, is somebody going to steal my car? Is somebody going to try to jack us or whatever? Versus if you're driving in like a, like a normal car, nobody knows.
Like a Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Honda.
Right. Now down in Florida in these places where it is, I'm sure it's like they're dime a dozen Bentleys and whatever else. But I don't know. I think you can be a target too, like having all that money.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of people look at cars as a status symbol, and it just gets you from point A to point B. But then they pull up to their home, which you're like, okay, they're driving that car, and they have that house.
Right. True.
And you're like, that don't make sense.
Yeah, you don't want to have like a Lamborghini and live in a row home. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Hey guys, can you wrap it up?
Ooh.
There she is again.
Now that one I will take. I will take it. Thank you, Mrs. Dave. We finally got it out.
Yeah. That was a cool story, Zab. I enjoy that. I like the white collar crimes.
Sure.
Very similar though. A lot of them.
Yeah.
They're very like, it's always the same peak, and then they usually always get caught. We haven't had one yet where it's like,
well, then we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
True. There'd be no crime, I guess.
That's right.
There'd be nothing to talk about.
No, you're right.
We would probably never end one of these with the crime is still going on.
It's ongoing.
They're still looking at it to the day.
Because even the crypto guy was more current, but he haven't.
Oh yeah.
He had just went down, I think, when we had recorded that.
Yep.
So,
but these schemes to me still seem incredible. Just the smarts that these guys have to even attempt something like this, knowing that, hey, this whole thing could fold.
Dude, the likelihood
crumble.
is not good.
Yeah, but even when the things crumbled on him, he still found a way out. He still had enough, money somewhere to get rid of it. It goes away, but then there's more stuff compounded.
Dude, this guy was still getting bank loans when investigators were chasing him down. He was still able to close. I think the last bank loan he had gotten was through some bank in Indiana that had closed just as, again, people are getting on him and chasing him down. In fact, he was almost caught at one point when he was wire transferring money from the proceeds of the loan to his own personal account, and they found out where he was. And again, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to wire the money from Bank of, let's say, Indiana to Lou Pearlman personal. Okay, but that wire, they know the origination of that, or the destination, I should say. So this guy maybe at the time was either in Germany or Belarus or you name it. By the time the authorities got there to find him, he had already skipped town.
Jeez.
Yeah, the moral is, I guess, if you're going to commit any kind of crime today,
don't get caught.
Well, you're going to get caught. I think is where we're going.
Oh
yeah,
shit!
pretty much.
I don't think there's any way out of it. Like once you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, even if you die before you get caught, it's going to come out eventually.
Yeah.
And then your whole name's ran through the mud and everything else. But
muddy.
That EISA got me to thinking also, a very important message. Don't forget your EITCs.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very important for private school education. It's a good thing. That's how they can get a lot of money for schools. If you're a business owner, right, Zab? You know a little bit
That's
about
right.
that.
So what Dave's referring to are tax credits. So what these are is instead of paying your state or Commonwealth income tax, you can instead tell them that you're giving that money and donating it to your local Catholic school.
But yeah, Zab, enjoy that one. We'll be back next week with Vintage Cinema Review. I think we got Bill and Ted's coming up.
Ooh.
Excellent
Adventures.
Nice.
So yeah, check that out. And then don't forget to find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement, on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. You guys got anything else?
nothing other than, remember everybody, that's OL apostrophe, Dirty Basement.
That's right.
Yeah, no old, just old.
Old Dirty Basement. That's
Old.
right. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.